Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you're all well. Welcome to another crafty session with me, Rosie. We're going to do something a bit different today. And this kind of came quite organically, if you will. It's not something I thought about doing as a session, but what were we doing? We were doing a session a few weeks ago. And just by chance, we were talking about drawing eyes, and somebody, one of the watchers, listeners, I don't know what you'd be called, audience members, collaborators, I don't know, one of you lovely people had sort of commented saying that I was talking about drawing faces and drawing faces quite simply in quite a cartoonish way, but in my own sort of unique style. And somebody commented saying, oh, I'd love to learn that. And so that's why we're doing this session today. So whoever you are, hopefully you're watching, but thank you, because this is a really great opportunity, something I'd not thought anyone would be interested in. But I think it could be quite fun. And the more I thought about it, the more it kind of made sense to me, because actually I think faces are quite scary to draw. And I struggle to draw faces still. I don't think I'm very good at it in a kind of realistic way. And so I've just sort of bumbled around with my kind of illustration business and kind of harnessed my own style of drawing faces and people in my own way, in a way that's not scary to me as well. That's the other thing, is that I think drawing faces is quite scary. So I'm going to try and make it not scary anymore, and try and do it in a really easy way, because that's kind of what I've done. I've tried to do as many, I think naturally, I've done as many shortcuts as I possibly can, found as many loopholes as I can to be able to draw faces without worrying too much. So that's what we're going to do today. Really, really simple. Usually my desk is covered in bits of paper, glitter, sequins, scissors, glue, and it gets very, very messy. My desk space becomes terrifying to look at. But today it's really easy. All we need is pens and paper. Lovely. What more could we want on a Friday? It's going to be really easy to tidy up. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll feel a little bit more confident just drawing faces, even if it's just for the sake of it. You don't need to use it for anything. It's also great for kids as well. So one of the things that I've noticed is that my 6-year-old daughter draws faces the same way that I do. So you'll notice children, this is kind of similar to what we're doing today, but if you watch children drawing people, you can kind of see the timeline in their brain development. So it sort of starts out with kind of a stick man, and then you'll kind of get the limbs will get a bit better, then the limbs will have fingers, and then the face will have hair and ears, and you can kind of see that going along. But what I've noticed with my daughter is that she sort of copies the way that I draw eyes, and all of her faces always have eyelashes on, because I usually put massive eyelashes in on my faces. So maybe what I'm doing is creating an army of people who are all going to draw faces in the same way, which would be quite fun, wouldn't it? So I'm going to stop yapping and we'll start doing some drawing. But what we're going to really explore today is the idea that you can fill any space with a face. And you can kind of see that with these examples here. This is me just doodling. So I've not done this for any reason other than just to enjoy drawing. So you don't need to feel like there's any consequence to this. It's just really good practice and quite good fun. Also really bold and thick, bright lines and colours. So that's also quite fun for colouring in if you like colouring in. But I quite like the idea of exploring the idea of making any shape into a face and how it's completely possible, and filling spaces. So I'm going to move these to one side. So we've got a nice plain piece of paper. We can look at these as our examples. I wonder if I can I'm trying to create a little sort of art gallery area, but we'll look at that later. It's fine. I'll put those to one side. So I have got one piece of A3 paper. You can use any paper you like. You don't need to use anything fancy. It's just that A3 is nice and big so you guys can see what I'm doing. And today I'm just going to use Sharpies because they're nice and thick and I've got loads of colours. Again, you don't have to have Sharpies if you don't want. This is more for a sort of from a camera point of view, so you can see what I'm doing. You can use pencils, whatever pens you like. If all you've got is a biro, also fine. I quite like drawing with biros, actually. Quite like biros. I think they're quite fun. So whatever you've got handy, you can do this with anything at all. I'm just going to throw a few colours in there because it wouldn't be a session with Rosie if there weren't lots of colours. But I thought what we could do is we could explore some different types of faces that we can do and some different cheats. And then what we'll try and do is we'll fill a whole space, and we'll kind of use the filling of that space as a kind of way to teach ourselves how to troubleshoot drawing faces in certain areas. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, don't worry, it's fine. We're just drawing faces, it's okay. So I thought maybe what we could start with us doing is drawing some eyes, because eyes are the hardest. No one likes drawing eyes. Eyes are really difficult. So what I'll do is, let's get this blue pen. And what we'll do is we'll just do some doodling and we'll just have a try. Now, the first thing that I would say is if you really, really hate drawing eyes, then that's fine, because the cheat to drawing eyes is having them closed. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a circle, and it doesn't matter if this circle isn't perfect. It can be any kind of circle, and I'm just going to draw a line down the middle, which can be our nose for now. Doesn't need to be fancy. And what we can think about is if we like this kind of cartoon style and we like what we're drawing but we're scared of doing the eyes, then that's fine, because all we need to do is do two little sort of bracket signs. If you put them on the side, they would be exactly the same as an open bracket. And if you want to, this is the other thing about drawing that I think people forget, is that you could move your paper around and draw two open brackets. You don't need to have your paper like this. You could turn it round and draw it like this. Draw your open brackets if that feels safer to you. And then essentially you've already got some eyes. And I think for me, it's a stylistic choice, and it's something I've stuck with over the years, and I'm going to stick with it forever, is just stick a load of eyelashes on stuff. If you put eyelashes on all of these cartoon eyes, you're going to bring them to life. You're going to give them a bit of texture. I think the more lines, the better, really. We will explore different ways of doing eyelashes shortly. But I would just encourage you all, especially if you're thinking, I can't do eyes. Well, look, we've done two open brackets. If we stick a load of eyelashes on it, it's going to look great. And I sometimes do really long ones, sometimes really short ones. It can totally depend on what you're doing. But I think you'll find that as soon as you stick some eyelashes on there, you've made something special. Perfect, right? Can't go wrong. I'm not going to draw a mouth on this because we're going to move on to mouths a little while later. But we're going to just explore some eyes a little bit more. So I still think eyes are scary. To do realistic eyes, I find really difficult. But I'm just going to talk you through the process in which I would draw an eye. I'll try and add as much detail as I can, but in a really simple way. Maybe I should change colour. Yeah, let's change colour. Let's go for pink. So I'm going to just move my camera slightly closer, actually, because sorry for the wobble. Then you'll be able to see a bit better. So, as before, I was talking about our sort of open brackets for our eyes. I would say there's two ways that I do eyes. The simplest way is to draw an oval, but sort of a squished oval like this. Really, really easy. And then all you need to do is colour in the middle of it like that. And you've got yourself a lovely eye. If you want to add stuff to it, there's loads of different ways you can do that. But it's this bit that is the scariest bit. I think it's the idea of drawing the eye with the round bit, with the iris and all of that business. You don't need to do that. You can draw a simple oval with your blob in the middle, and then you can embellish it. I just think the whole idea of eyelashes and makeup and things like that, they're far easier to draw than eyes themselves, and they will bring your picture to life. So, for example, we could very, very easily give this eye a little bit of eyeliner, and all we need to do is do a thicker line along it, like so. So you're making that bit thicker, and then you're just doing a pointy bit at the end, and you can do that however you wish, and you can do it as thickly as you like, as thinly as you like, and then already you're giving it a bit of extra something. I'm just going to make sure that the pen isn't going through my other paper. I'm just going to remove my underneath paper because I'm pressing quite hard with my very permanent markers. So that's a really easy way of doing an eye. We can add our eyelashes if we want. Now, talking of eyelashes, I'm going to talk about eyelashes quite a lot. But there's different ways you can do it. So if I draw 2 eyes, I'm going to replicate this one. And the other thing we'll talk about as well is when we do the faces, because they're going to be quite cartoonish and they're going to be really simplistic. I don't want you to worry about symmetry either. And in fact, we're going to use some different ways of making it purposely asymmetric to kind of judge things up a bit and mix things up. And the reason for that is so that you don't have to worry about making things the same shape and size. Because of this way of doing it, this sort of style, I'm kind of encouraging you to make the eyes and the shapes different and look different, right? That's the fun of it. So we don't need to worry about making things symmetrical if we don't want. So I'm just going to replicate this. So they've both got a lovely eyeliner on. And there's lots of different ways that we can do our eyelashes. So if we copy our closed eyes eyelashes, then all we would be doing is a series of straight lines that are coming out of the top of the eye. Alternatively, there's another way of doing it, and that is by doing curved eyelashes. So for that, we would just be flicking upwards, and this is why it's quite nice to do your eyeliner flicks, because it makes the lines of the eyelashes easier, because you can follow that curvature of the eyeliner. And you just get a different feeling. You could stop there. You'll see in some cartoons that they'll just have like 3 eyelashes on the side. So you could just stick with that. With your bottom eyelashes, again, you could curve them. So you're just doing little sort of round flicks, like so. Alternatively, you could be really extravagant with it. And I do like to do that sometimes. So what I might do is halfway, like right in the middle, I might do a really long eyelash and then sort of go ever so slightly shorter either side. So you're kind of going for like a little bit of an Egyptian style eyelash, if you will. And I think that looks quite fun. Easy peasy. So that's a really, really simple way of doing an eye. The simplest is doing your closed eye with your brackets and your eyelashes. Your second easiest is your oval with your little circles in the middle. You can add eyeliner and you can do lots and lots of eyelashes. So the next one we're going to do, maybe I should change colour again. I think I should. Let's go with green. So the next one, we're going to give the eyes a bit more shape and a bit more depth. But again, we're talking super, super simple. We're not doing anything too crazy. We're not doing shading or reflections or anything like that. So for this one, the only difference really with the shape is instead of doing an oval, we're going to do the points at the end. So like the real shape of the eye. And the easiest way to describe this is the same as with the closed eye, is that we're just drawing brackets. That's all we're doing. So what I might do is I'm going to turn this piece of paper to make it easier for myself. I'm going to do this quite big so that we can add lots of detail so you can see it. And I'm just going to draw an open bracket like so. And that's basically it. All you need to do now is replicate that on the other side. But if it's not exactly the same, don't worry, that's also fine, because there's lots of different ways we can fix it. So I just think really for this shape, the easiest way to do it is to turn your paper and imagine that you're drawing an open bracket and a closed bracket, but they are smushed together so that they join either side. And then what you will find is that you've got a lovely shaped eye. Now, usually at this point, I'll make a few decisions based on whatever I'm drawing. But what I quite like to do, and I think that this just adds a little bit of, again, a little bit of something to your eye, is I'm going to draw another line which sort of comes along here. And I guess what that's doing is it's sort of replicating this bit of your eye here. Yeah, well, you can't, I don't know if you can save the video, but as soon as so this is currently live, this video. But as soon as it's finished, it's available to sort of re-watch as if it's, so imagine that it's like on iPlayer, but on the Virtual Village Hall player. So you'll be able to find this video, so you'll be able to type in the title or my name, and you'll be able to find it, and then you can watch it and you can pause it, replay it, and you can play it as many times as you want. I don't know if you can save videos on Facebook. I'm fairly sure there's an option to. I know there is on Instagram, so you can save things that you like, and your kind of profile will kind of keep it safe for you in a folder. But I've never tried it with Facebook, but you can definitely rewatch this afterwards and pause it, so you can take your time and rewatch it as many times as you like. You don't have to do this in real time. I mean, I'm not expecting anyone to do this in real time if they don't want to. Or if you are doing it real time, you can go back and watch it again and do it much more slowly. Because this is a whistle-stop tour of faces today. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with the rest of this eye here. So you'll find this, and I'm hoping what will happen is if you do this video and you really enjoy it and you sort of take it on board, you'll start to notice little elements of what I'm doing in cartoons and comic books and just sort of illustrated faces. You'll start to notice in kind of animated TV shows the different ways in which people draw eyes and faces and mouths and things like that. So for example, you might find on certain TV shows all of the eyes will be completely circular, or all of the eyes will be this shape, and it's just those different, and that's what makes them unique. So that's what I'm sort of hoping you can explore whilst you do this. So I like to do another little line, which is almost like this bit here, and it's just going to go, it's on this top half of the bracket, and it's not, I'm not going to use up much of it. Hopefully this will make sense when I've done it. There you go. Just there. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And then this gives me a really lovely area to do some more eyelashes. And it also, I think, just makes the eyes look slightly more realistic. Not that they need to be realistic because they're kind of cartoon in style. The next thing, but well, this is kind of the reason I do this, is because you'll notice that if you draw an eye shape and then draw a circle in the middle of it, absolutely fine, but it's just a little bit less realistic. I've noticed when you're trying to draw an eye realistically, you can never see, like if you look at my eye now, you can't see the full circle because it's covered by eyelashes, eyelids. So, but I find that really hard to draw. So this is kind of stopping me from doing that. It's preventing me from drawing a full circle, which makes it look more realistic, hopefully. So the next thing I'm going to do is the circle of the eye. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine that the circle is here, so that this bit here is going to cut off some of that circle. And that's the reason I put that in first, so that it's sort of stopping me from drawing the full circle. And there's two ways you can do this. You can either draw your full circle, but you're sort of stopping at the top here, or you could sort of stop at the bottom as well. But I'm going to do a full circle, and it's going to touch the bottom bit. But can you see there, it's now stopped on that line there, just giving it a bit more of a realistic feel. And then the next bit that you would do is your inner circle, which is your iris. That's your iris, right? I've forgotten the anatomy of my face. Sorry. So I'm going to do a circle in the middle, like so. I think that's looking pretty good. I think the best way to describe this bit in terms of the thickness of the iris and the bit on the outside is a polo mint. That's how I like to think of it. That's the sort of thickness you're going for. I'd say if it didn't have all this stuff going around it, you'd say that looks like a polo mint. You're onto a good track if you've drawn a polo mint. Now, here's the key bit in the middle. I love doing this bit. This is my favorite bit. You will notice, especially in kind of like anime, any kind of like Japanese animation, they'll really exaggerate the sort of dots in your iris, which are your reflection points. So they're the bits, you can see one right now. I think we forget about them quite often, but there's a white dot on both of my eyeballs, and that's the reflection of the light. I really like doing these bits. You will see in some animations and some illustrations, they'll put like 3 dots at different sizes. Some will even have little stars. But the easiest way to do it is once you've drawn your polo mint, what I like to do is I like to do it in the top corner here, So I draw another little circle like this, and then I can colour the rest of the inside of my polo mint. And then you've got your little reflection point then. And as I've said, if I just very quickly draw another eye up here, and I'm going to do it very, very, very quickly. I draw my big circle here, and then my inner circle. You can kind of do more than one dot if you want. That's not a very good example, sorry. But you'll see, like here, I've left 2 tiny dots. So you can play with that, that's quite fun. So now we've got our reflection point. I really like doing this bit. I like doing, so again, this is a stylistic choice, and these are things that you can explore and change and do differently. But for this bit here, which is the bit of the eye that is the colour, right? So your blues and your greens and your browns. We're not going to really think about colouring in today because we don't need to. We're doing so many lines. We don't need to think about colours. But what I like to do is I like to do a series of lines in my polo mint, just again to add a bit of texture. And we might colour those bits in between. That's fine. But for now, we're going to do some lines because that's how I like doing it. So I'm going to do a series of lines, but they're all going to be sort of like randomly close together and far apart. Like so. Excuse me. So you've got those lines around there now. Again, that's a kind of cartoon style choice. I think that's looking pretty good. And now it's for the fun bit, because now we can do all the embellishments around the edge. This is going to be quite a fancy eye. And when we start to fill, excuse me, all the faces, we might not do as much detail, but I might as well show you. So there's a few different things we can do. So what I might do is if I try and replicate this eye, so again, I'm going to turn my page. And sorry, my face is going to disappear out of the screen just so I can lean around my camera, because I want to try and make this quite a similar size. Just so I can show you some different ways of embellishing our eye. So that, I mean, they're pretty similar. I can live with it. I'll just do my lines around there. Okie dokie. So we've got our 2 eyes. I think for this left-hand side one, I'm going to just do some eyelashes, make it really simple. So we could do I want curly ones? Yeah, let's do some curly ones here. So now that we've got this sort of top bit here, which is like our eyelid, we can start our eyelashes down here and we can really elongate them. And I'm going to start from the middle and work my way out. So if I start from sort of the middle of the eye, bottom of the eyelid, and then I'm going to curve upwards like that. Now that looks super long, but because we're doing cartoons, you can be really exaggerating with it. And I'm going to go along until I get to the corner of the eye. And can you see I've made each one slightly shorter? Fun. Happy with that. And then for the bottom line, I'm just going to go very simply like with my closed eye. And I'm just going to do a series of lines all the way around. Lovely. So that's one way of doing it. There are other ways of doing it, which is being really extravagant and exuberant with that eye, which is what we're going to do next. So this is kind of based on, if you are to sort of research Mexican folk art or quite old style tattoo kind of imagery, if you're to type that into maybe Pinterest or Google and type in eye, then you might get this sort of thing. You might recognize this sort of style, because what we're going to do is we're going to start sort of adding all sorts of different things. You might see them with sort of clouds around them and lightning bolts and things like that. So we're going to sort of do a bit of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some big old sort of sun rays coming out of the top. Excuse me, I've got a very dry throat this morning. I don't know why. I think I'm quite hay fevery, which is very annoying because usually at this time of year it's when all the hay fever starts to sort of die out and you start to get your sinuses back. Mine's just getting worse. Unacceptable. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to follow the curvature of the eye, but a little bit further up. So I'm going to leave a little gap like so. And then we're going to go crazy with our zigzags. How fun is that? Super simple, but very, very effective, I think. And we can also add to this if we wanted. So we could do some patterns. Beautiful. And then for the bottom one, I'm going to do something slightly different. And I'm going to do sort of, what would you call it? Excuse me. Maybe a scalloped edge. I think it's a scalloped edge. And again, you're sort of like exaggerating the idea that they've got sort of very extravagant makeup on. So for this one, I'm just going to do a scalloped edge around the bottom. Like that. Beautiful. And then again, we might do some dots. Good fun. That's looking good, isn't it? And then we can do more. So you might see in the kind of the sort of tattoo style ones, you might see like really elongated teardrops or clouds around them. You could do like, maybe we could do a little like lightning bolt. How do we do that? I've forgotten how to do lightning bolts. Like that. That's how you do a lightning bolt, isn't it? Sort of. With some little lines there like that. And then we can also add some more lines if we wanted to. So we could do some, we could use the inside bit of our scalloped edge to draw some lines. So I'm just going to town here with the eyes. We're not going to continue with this sort of thing. But I'm just giving you the idea that you can really, you can turn a very simple eye into something quite effective without any kind of technical ability of drawing eyes like myself. I don't like drawing eyes, but I like all of this bit around it. All of these bits that sort of encompass it that are really easy. It's like really simple illustration and it looks like an eye. That's the main thing, right? So that's how we can kind of embellish an eye. That's how we can do our eyelashes. This is how I do the inside. I feel like now this side needs some eyelashes as well. Like so. And really, really easy. Okay, we're going to move on to some more features now. So let's move on to noses and mouths. Noses, mouths, and then we'll start doing full faces. I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to sort of move my paper over so we're on a blank bit, and I think we should probably change colour again. Let's go over to this orange one, which is lovely. So again, I think noses are really hard to draw. Basically, all the features are quite hard to draw. So noses and mouths and eyes are hard to draw unless you do it like this. Now, I should mention at this point that I haven't spoken about eyebrows, but that's because what I've sort of taught myself to do, again, just through cheating really, is that I now turn my eyebrows and my noses into sort of one thing. So that's why I haven't discussed eyebrows yet. Just really simple shapes. So let's draw another big circle, which can be our face. And again, it doesn't need to be a particular shape. It doesn't need to be a circle. It can be an oval. It could be a square. We're going to explore that in a little while. So we have got, let's just do some very simple closed eyes so that we don't need to worry about our eyes again. And we're just going to pop those in there. And again, if you don't feel confident, you can turn your paper around and draw two open brackets. So we've got our eyes in there. I would say as well at this point, I would usually do my eyes after I've done my nose and eyebrows, but just for the sake of showing you this bit, I'll show you and then we can do it again. So there's lots of different ways we can do this. The simplest you will notice up here is just doing a straight line. Sometimes I might make that line into a shape. Sometimes I might add to it. So I might put some dots either side just for a bit of something to sort of look a little bit like nostrils. You can add eyebrows afterwards, but I'll show you that in a second. But this is my favourite way of doing it. You're literally doing what shape would you call it? I don't think it has a shape. We're just doing a series of lines. So I'm going to go across. Now you might do this the opposite way around. I'm left-handed. So you might go from this eye across. So it doesn't matter which way around you do it. I'm going to go across here as if it's an eyebrow, and then I'm going to go straight down the middle, and then I'm going to go across. Now, that's enough if you so wish. I think that looks really nice as it is. So you're basically doing across, down, and across again, and that is an eyebrow and your nose shape. However, if you want to, you can go up again and across again, and you've got yourself a really lovely eyebrow and nose situation. And you don't need to think about it. You don't need to think about the shape of the nose. You've done it. And this will work in lots of different ways. So if I do another shape up here, and I'm going to draw this first this time. So I might go like this. And you can see this time I've made the nose a bit fatter. And then I can draw some eyes in. And the reason why I do this first and then the eyes is because then this will dictate the shape of the eyes, which makes the eyes less scary, because then you know which sort of space you're filling. So you've got your nose. If you make this fat enough, you can add some little dots in there to make your little nostrils. And again, this is sort of cartoon in style. It's very sort of stylized. We can add our eyelashes again if we want, like so. And then we can add our mouth after that. But I'm going to do a few more different options. So again, I'm going to draw another shape. And this time we're going to explore just this sort of S-shaped one, which is quite fun. So we're going to go across, down, and across. You might add a dot this side. And this is what I like about this style of drawing, is that we can mix up how our eyes look. So what we might do is we might make this into an open eye, and then this one might be a closed eye. But by doing our eyebrow and nose like this, we're purposely making it asymmetric, which means we can purposely make our eyes asymmetric. It's a style choice then, isn't it? It's not artistic choice. And so it doesn't matter if you do different sized eyes, or if the eyes have different stuff going on. And it takes away that element of fear of trying to draw perfectly symmetrical eyes, because I don't think it really matters. So that looks fun. What you can also do is, if you quite like having two eyebrows, is then just draw another line. The other thing we can do with eyebrows before I move on to noses is we can do some really simple stuff. So I'm going to draw another circle up here. I'm going to just do a line, and we'll just do some closed eyes for the sake of this. And this bit is really fun. So you could do either a zigzag or a kind of spiral, like so. And I think both of those sort of lines make nice eyebrows. I probably should have made this circle bigger, but we'll try anyway with this massive pen. So that is a really simple zigzag eyebrow. And then we can also do a spirally one, which isn't going to look very good on here because I've made it too small, but you get the idea. So that's two really easy ways of doing eyebrows without having to worry too much. I know, because you find with kind of, if you watch people drawing faces, there's the whole thing with the eyebrows and like the hairs of the eyebrow and the curvature as well. So if you're doing like a kind of lovely coiffured eyebrow. So I'll just show you very quickly how I would do that. And I don't do this very often because I think that I prefer these sort of really simplistic lines that are really obvious and thick and cartoony. But if you just do a curve like this, so again, we're looking at that sort of open bracket, but if you imagine a sort of elongated one, and then what I might do is I'll come in ever so slightly in from there and draw a line going upwards, and then I'm going to follow this line but make sure it points at the end, like so. So there you've got your pointy eyebrow, and the reason I've left this gap here is because I do the extra sort of stray hairs that you always get on this bit here. And then what you could also do is you can add those lines going in. So that's a kind of more realistic eyebrow if you so wish. And again, you could mix it up. You could make it asymmetric. So you could put that on one eye and then do a funny one on the other, or a line. It really doesn't matter. But this is my favourite. My favourite is this kind of really simple shape. And then you can do some dots. I also quite like doing like a nose ring, because I've got a nose ring. And that's really, really simple. Can I do it on this one? Yeah. So all I would do is I would do a circle, but it's sort of chopped off on the bit where the nose is, like so. And there you've got a nose ring. And I just think all of those kind of added elements just make it a little bit different. So just adding a nose ring will do something to it, right? So that's you. Oh no, I'm going to show you one more nose. Two more noses. I'm going to show you two more noses. So I'm going to change colour again because I'm getting bored of the orange. Let's go in with the purple. Let's move the paper this way. And again, I'm going to draw more of an oval this time. So I'm going to just draw a couple of eyes really quickly. Oh, I might do with this one, I might show you a Frida Kahlo eyebrow because that's quite fun. And I think you can add that into any picture. So I'm obsessed with Frida Kahlo, the Mexican artist, and I draw pictures of her all the time. So I quite like doing a Frida Kahlo monobrow. It's really, really fun. So what I'll do is I'll just add some eyelashes onto this one. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the curve of the eyes and not stop, but then it's going to go from this side of the oval to this side of the oval. So we're going to go down, up, down, and then I'm going to sort of colour it in slightly so it's thicker, but again gets thinner at the end to make your eyebrow shape. So that's how you do your Frida Kahlo monobrow, and I think that works for anything really. And then what you might do is you might add your hairline like so, and we'll get onto hair in a little while, but just so we've sort of added that in. So two more noses that are really, really simple. So one of them is kind of like a wiggly line, and I'm going to show you on here very quickly. So I'm going to go down again, and then I'm going to go blob, blob, blob. Really, really easy. You're just doing, what would you call that? It looks a little bit like it's going to be a very, very cartoonish hand and arm, or it looks a bit like some kind of clover, something like that. But that's a really easy one to do that you can practice. So you're going down, you're going round at the side, round at the bottom, and round at the side again. And if we put that into situation here, you've got yourself a lovely nose. Again, nice stylized one, nice and cartoonish. You can add I sometimes add a dot in there, maybe one, maybe two, totally up to you. But the other thing I quite like doing with these noses especially is adding, again, this is a style choice, it's an artistic choice, is to draw the lines of the philtrum. Is it the philtrum? No, it's not the philtrum, that's the philtrum, isn't it? These lines here, your sort of lip lines, we're going to draw those. So I quite like doing them. So I'm going to do a sort of V shape there. And again, you're just building up different kind of lines just to make it a bit more interesting to look at. So that's what I would do often with those noses. I'll draw these sort of like sticky out lines that make, and then we join the lip to that. And again, this is another, again, I think it's a cheat that I've sort of done in my head over time, because if I put these lines in, I know they're going to be attached to the mouth. So it gives me a really good idea of where the mouth is going to sit. So it takes away that fear of, oh God, where's the mouth going to be? Well, the mouth is going to be here because it's going to touch these lip lines. Excuse me. So that's your second nose. Third one, really easy. The only difficulty with this is sort of choosing where it's going to sit, because I'm not drawing a line, I'm just doing the bottom bit here. So I'm going to draw another circle. I find that this particular way of drawing a nose is good for like children, like little things, cute things, baby faces, things like that, because you're missing this line here. It kind of gives you that element that it's a sort of younger face. I don't know why, but if I do, again, let's do some little eyes. Okay, so really easy. I'll do it up here first. Another open bracket. Like this. And then we're going to do two smaller brackets either side that touch this one. Like so. So I'm going to do it on here now. So we're going to do our open bracket and then our tiny little brackets next to it. Really easy. And again, you could add dots in here if you wanted to, but you don't need to. But you're just sort of giving it that kind of cartoony, youngish face. So sorry, I keep having a coughing fit whilst trying to teach you how to do faces. Apologies. Okay, so if I recap very quickly, we can do a line nose. We can do our sort of zigzaggy line nose, or our sort of S-shape nose, dot. We've got our wiggly nose. And then last but not least is our tiny little nose here. Perfect. So now we can move on to mouths. So the simplest way to do mouths is a great big smile. And we don't need to worry about it too much. Don't think about it too much, but we can add a lovely big smile like that. We can give it some depth and make it thicker, like that. We could maybe do some, let's see, again, if we look at the brackets, we go bracket here, and then a smile in between. We could add some teeth in here if we wanted, so we would literally just draw two teeth and then colour the rest in. But I quite like doing lovely lips and not seeing any teeth, and I find this much easier and I do this far more often. So I'm gonna, let's do the bottom here. Let's get another pen. What haven't I used yet? Pink. Oh, I did use pink at the beginning, but I'll use it anyway. So we're going to draw our face. What time are we on? Right, once I've done this, we'll start filling. What I'll do is I'll get another great big piece of paper and I'll just start drawing faces. I'll perhaps speak a little bit less so I don't keep coughing at you. And you can kind of watch how I fill the gaps. So mouth first. So I'm going to do a really simple face, closed eyes for time. So for the lips, you can do it a couple of different ways. I think the easiest is to do your top lip first. So if I do the example here, the easiest way is to draw like a curved M, like this. and then draw a line around the middle of it, or the bottom of it, sorry, and then fill in your lip at the bottom there. So you're going curved M, join the bottom, and then one bracket underneath. And if you want to add some little bits at the side to make them smiley, you could, but you don't have to. So now if you imagine you've drawn your M, and then you've drawn your line at the bottom, and then your bracket, now if you imagine sort of elongating that M, making it a bit flatter, or pointier even, like so. So can you see I've basically done an M that's a little bit more kind of floaty, it's less childlike. So you're sort of going, if I do that again for you, you're kind of, it's sort of been stretched almost, you see? It kind of looks a little bit like one of those birds that you do in the sky when you're little. And then you can, again, you can join it at the bottom, but this time I've sort of curved it a bit more. And then you're just doing the same thing underneath, like so. That's the easiest way of doing a lip, I think. If you find it easier, you could draw like a flatter bracket, then do your M shape, like so. And what I also like to do, which is again another style choice, an artist choice, is to add a few lines in there to sort of give that sort of natural lip line. So if I do my M again, join it at the bottom, do the bottom bit, and then what I might do is do a couple of lines here, maybe a couple of lines up here, and it just gives it that kind of like plumpness, if you will. So if I put that into here, beautiful. I think that works perfectly. And if I was to do it here with the join where I've done those lip lines, I'm going to go back to the purple. It would be like that. Sometimes as well, I quite like to do, I don't know why, but I quite like to do a line under the chin. I don't know what it is. I just quite like the look of it. So I might do it, maybe if I do it on this pink one. Like that. And then the last thing that I wanted to say about the face is that I don't think I've missed out. What I'm going to say is 90% of my faces have cheek marks. So I like to do spirals, I like to do hearts, or just great big circles. I think it breaks it up. I think it gives it that sort of original, unique element. And I think they all need them. I just love them. So if we add a couple of lovely little circles there, it just makes it, doesn't it? So that's your, one more lip. So what you can do is, if you find this quite tricky, is you can leave this bottom bit out. Really, really simple. So you do your M shape, and then essentially you do a little line here, and then a tiny little line underneath, like so. So you're doing an M, a line, and then a tiny bracket underneath. And if we put that into situation, in fact, we can do it here, can't we? Or on this one. You can do your little M with your line, and it can even be a dot. And this is kind of like, you know, those old-fashioned pictures you can see of like suns that have faces, moons. You'll notice they do lips a little bit like this. They're sort of missing out the bottom lip. And they're essentially, what you're doing is you're drawing the top lip and then the sort of shadow part here. And that's quite a stylized thing. That's quite, I would say that's often seen in kind of Victorian illustrations, but I've sort of hopped onto that because I quite like it. And it's really easy. It's just, it means you don't have to do all of that detail. You don't need to think about the bottom lip. So that's a really easy way of doing a lip, and you can stick to that if you want. So you're essentially doing your little M and then a line and then either a dot or a little bit there. Really, really easy. So we've done our eyes, our noses, our mouths, our cheeks. So now we can do some embellishing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to another piece of paper because I'm aware of the time, and I'm going to start drawing faces, but I'm going to add the sort of hair, ears, things like that, and I'll try to do them different shapes and sizes so that you can see how easy it is. Okay. And I'll try my best not to cough. I didn't bring water up with me. That was silly, wasn't it? I had a coffee. I thought that might help, but that's just made me stay awake. It's not helped with my throat at all. So I'll be taking some antihistamines as soon as I finish. Okay, so let's do all of those things that we've practiced. I've done my first circle. We're going to do a lovely zigzaggy shape here. I'm going to do one closed eye and then one open eye again. Let's colour that in. I really like asymmetry. And then for this one, we'll go one of those little ones there, like that. Looks a little bit like a moon, doesn't it? We'll do some nice cheeks here. And now we can think about hair and ears. So ears are really good because you can add earrings, which is always fun. So again, I just do some really simple little sort of, I don't know, little lumps here. And then what we can do is, if we so wish, is we can add some earrings. So for earrings, I like to do like a big line, massive triangle always works, I think, with some kind of nice shape in it. Maybe this one could be a different type of earring. So this one could be like, maybe this one could be a moon shape, actually. Lovely. And then if we think about hair, because now we've done our face, we can kind of do what we want. And you'll see if I show you some examples here, there's loads of different ways you can do it and you can sort of build on it. I do like a bob though. So we'll do, oh, this one's quite good though. Let's do that. We'll do a bob next. So this is really easy. We're just doing our sort of, it's like a middle parting, isn't it? So we're doing a middle parting and then we just add some lines into it. And then if you wanted to add to that, really, really simple. So let's give this face maybe a big ponytail, maybe. So I would just do like a big lump here and then we can just go crazy. So we could just put our big ponytail here and then maybe it could join. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. Let's join that at the end and then do a big spiral. Beautiful. And then we'll add some lines in there. Whoever this is, they are fabulous. Okay, next one. Let's do a bob now. I really like drawing bobs. Maybe it's because I've got a fringe. It's quite fun. So for this one, what I'll purposely do is not do a full circle. So I will draw a circle pretty much, but sort of stop. And then I'll draw a line across. So you're doing like a bowl shape, basically. If you draw a nice big bowl, you know you're going to have some great hair on it. So if I do the eyes first, oh, well, let's do some spiral eyebrows for this one. And then we can do our eyes. And then, oh, let's not forget the eyelashes. And then maybe we'll do a wiggly nose. And then we can do our little lip lines here. And then like so, perfect. She can have hearts as well for cheeks. And the thing about this as well, hopefully you'll have noticed, I'm not worried at all about where they sit. When you draw faces, like realistically, they say the eyes sit halfway along the head and all that sort of thing. But with this, it really doesn't matter because however you do it, it looks great. So for her bob, what I'm going to do is about halfway down the bowl, I'm just going to draw a line across and then a line across here like so. And then I'm just going to join them It doesn't matter how you do it, it always looks good. Doesn't that look great? And we could colour this in if we wanted, or we could do some like really stylized lines. I think this person is like a mod, and she's going to go to like a Northern Soul night dancing. Perfect. And the other thing that we might consider, which I've not spoke about yet, is if we want to do like any neck and have any necklaces. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to flood you with information. But if you wanted to do it really simply, I just do a tiny little neck like this, so 2 lines going down, and then you can literally do your straight lines like this. It's quite robotic actually, but once you start embellishing it, it looks quite fun. So we've done 2 lines here. Then you might do the semicircle for your top, and then do whatever you want with it. You could add some embellishments, your line there, whatever you like. Really, really easy. So what's next? What's next? I want to do like let's do another colour. I've not used this. Will this lovely lime green show up? I wonder. Let's see. So now I'm going to do like quite a thin oval. Oh, you can't see that at all. That's no, that's no good. Let's go down here. Oh, I tell you what I'll do. Let's try a different shape very quickly before I go. So let's do like a square. So what I'd encourage you all to do is if you've had to go along with me, take this away and explore it. But also really experiment drawing faces in different shapes, like find lots of different shapes that you can fill. And I think by doing that, by filling shapes that aren't usual to faces like squares and triangles and things like that, it just reminds you not to worry too much about where you're placing things and what size and shape they are. It just sort of frees you up to sort of do whatever you want, and however you do it, it will look great. So if I do a really sort of asymmetric one here, and we'll do closey eyes here. And then there we go. And then this one's going to have one cheek over here, and then maybe like a big coloured in eyebrow like so. And then I'm trying to think of different hair that we could do that would be good to show you. I think this is quite fun, really, really easy, just for nice sort of spiky boy hair, is we can go do a wiggly line like this. If we do a wiggly line like that, you've got some really cool hair. We can do our ears like that. And then if we do one more before I go, one more shape. Oh, let's do a headscarf. So for a headscarf, I'm going to show you very quickly, is I draw a circle and then I do a spiral in it, but like not a precise spiral. And then I'm going to do the same way that we drew the eyes, where we're doing 2 brackets that are stuck together. I'm going to do the same as that, but on the circle. And that creates your headscarf shape. And then on top of that, we'll do a couple more, which are like the bits where it's knotted. We can add patterns to this if we want to make it more realistic. And then we can join these bits to make our face. And then, or maybe this one can have a freed eyebrow. And then we could do, maybe we just do a straight line for a nose. And then some lovely big eyes. Lovely big eyelashes. And some hearts for there. Or maybe we'll do a spiral here for her hair. And then we can do some earrings. And you can really play with the earrings. They can be quite fun. They can stick out in different directions. They can be different shapes and sizes. And hopefully that's given you a very, very, very quick whistle-stop tour on how to draw faces. So we've got our different eye shapes, which can be really, really simple. We can do closed eyes. We've got the eyelashes, or the way that we might do our polo mints, and really exaggerated sort of makeup and things going on around it. We've got our different ways of doing noses, and then our mouths, which are really simple, and they can be as simple as you like if you want them to be. And then finally, just adding all the fun bits like the hair and the earrings and the headscarves and things like that. But hopefully that's been really fun for you. I hope you all have a go at it. I really love doing this. This is the sort of thing, and I don't do it very often, but it's the sort of thing I just do for fun. So I don't do it for work. So I promise you, if you give it a try on your own, it's a really mindful task. It's like colouring in. It's lovely. It's just really, really fun. Please try it. I just am massive advocate of people being creative. I think all of you are artists. Whether you think you're not, you're all creative. Everyone's got it in them. And finally, apologies for my terrible cough all the way through that. I'm going to go and drink loads of water now and not go outside for the rest of my day. So thank you all so much for watching. Please feel free to go back and rewatch it and pause it and take as long as you like. And do get in touch anytime. I've been Rosie. My business is Rosie and Ramona. If you want to message me on Instagram, you can. It's at Rosie and Ramona Make. And I will be back next week, next Thursday, I believe, Thursday morning, with some more crafts. This next craft will be a bit messier than just drawing on paper. Sorry about that. But again, thank you all so much and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.